Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the ISMONO Podcast. And today, for a second time, we have Alex from Out in the Lights here, because the last time we did this recording, we had a technical issue where only 15 minutes of that awesome conversation was recorded, unfortunately. So in that, before I go into introducing Alex, maybe check out that episode first, because we cover a little bit about the channel and how Alex has gotten into creating YouTube. But maybe for anyone who hasn't watched that episode yet, Alex, welcome again to the episode, to this podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. I mean, it was a great episode, and I kind of am really bummed out that we had some technical issues. So maybe can you a little bit reintroduce yourself again and tell the viewers who haven't seen the last episode, maybe who you are and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Alex. I run the channel Out in the Lights, and it's a lot of minimalist packing, a lot of backpacks, slings, EDC gear. But yeah, I kind of have my own little take on it. My videos are a little more they're different than just your tabletop videos, going over gear. And yeah, I've been doing it for just over a year now and having a great time.
Thank you so much. I mean, I've said it in the last episode when we first met, but I kind of want to repeat what I've been saying. I really love the style that you have with your videos in terms of how you go about looking at the bag. So for anyone who hasn't seen Alex's videos yet, from my perspective, it's kind of this, it's not necessarily a review, but it's a cool minimalist, but very calming, almost, it's not silent, but it has this silent vlog calm appeal to your videos. What I really like, how you kind of pack your bags and then go about why you pack something and give the viewers the perspective of the bag instead of going on it about this regular review style. So I really applaud you for this fresh take on it, actually.
Thank you. Yeah, when I started, I just wanted to do something different. Like, I knew I wasn't going to be able to be as good as, like, you know, Chase Reeves or Danny Pax or someone who's just talking about the technical aspects of the bag. So I wanted to bring kind of my own flair to it, I guess.
And it's really cool that we have another unique voice in this space, because I feel that especially in the space of backpacks, it's really important to have so many different opinions, because bags are such a personal item, because we all pack differently. And then seeing your viewpoint on it, how you pack it and why you pack it, and in this very soothing almost way how you present it. I mean, also, I'm not sure if I told you that the last time, but I feel like you have a very radio voice. So
thank you.
It's for me at least, it's very pleasant to watch it, because usually when I watch a video, I put it to 1.75 times in speed, because I just want to get through it. And I feel like with your videos, I can just switch it on and then just make my coffee and once in a while look over. So it's a really enjoyable watch to start the day almost. So it's really cool.
That's awesome. I super appreciate that. That's great. Yeah, I try and make a little more relaxing maybe. It's not as much kind of in your face. It's a little more like, here's the bag. I want to give you the opportunity to decide if it's something that you like design wise. And then like the packing portion of the video is more just so you can see kind of what fits and kind of imagine what you would do. And, you know, packing's stressful. So trying to make it kind of relaxing and kind of enjoyable to watch is, kind of what I'm trying to do with it a little bit too.
Yeah, but let's talk a little bit about your packing style. So when I watch your videos and then when I watch how you kind of plan out your packing style and what you put inside, I can see some hints of minimalism that potentially have influenced you. Can you tell us a little bit how minimalism influences you when you pack? And be it in for everyday carry or traveling. So how do you approach it, and how you incorporate minimalism, if I read it correctly, that you
Yeah.
can have this minimalist mindset?
No, yeah, you got it. For me, minimalism is just kind of bringing along what you need. So it's being intentional about like what you bring to, I guess, in a way. So
Sure.
like for me, I'll usually start with a list and figure out what I do need to bring or what
Oh, really?
I'd like to bring
Okay.
along with me. Yeah, I like doing that. I like writing it down too. There's something about like, I don't know, physically writing something instead of just like putting it on your notes app that I really like too. If it's using pen and paper is really nice. But yeah, kind of start with that and then figure out what I exactly need for whatever trip I'm going on. Each one obviously going to be different. And then for whatever trip I'm going on, the bag's going to be a little bit different too. But even just having like a couple bags in your lineup, like, I'm lucky enough where I get to look at all of these bags all the time. But for someone who's out there shopping for a bag, it's nice to have, a bigger one, a little smaller one, maybe one sling, some versatile items. And that's kind of with the minimalism that, I go after too, is like versatility. Just making sure you bring what you need is like the most important things, I think, kind of when choosing bags and when choosing your packing style, I guess, if that makes sense.
How do you kind of plan? I mean, that is a very difficult question to answer, probably, but how do you evaluate what might be important to you? Let's say, because let's not go with vacation, because I feel like with vacation you probably are much more relaxed in terms of, oh, if I forget it, it doesn't matter. But let's imagine you travel for work. How do you plan for that? Because, for example, when I'm traveling for work, I always plan for redundancy. So I have always 2 pairs of cable for an SSD, for example. So totally overkill. Or I always bring a big power bank, because I don't know, maybe I need to quickly work while waiting for the train or for the flight or whatever. How do you go about to evaluate what you consider important whilst keeping minimalism in mind?
Sure. I kind of try and break it down by the day, like knowing kind of, especially if it's a work trip, like what my schedule is kind of going to be like. I don't need to bring along multiple pairs of shoes. Maybe it's like one pair of dress shoes, one pair of shoes, like sneakers to travel in. These days you can kind of get away with some more casual stuff anyway, too, kind of when you're working, at least the marketing industry that I'm in.
Of course.
But even if you do, have to bring some more dressy style clothes, it's really just evaluating day by day. Okay, what do I need for this exact day? Can I double up? Can I wear, just bring one pair of shorts that I'll be able to lounge around in the whole time? Or when I travel, can I just bring a sweatshirt that I can wear, while I'm out, and just have different undershirts to bring along with it instead of, multiple different shirts that you're bringing. So it's kind of paring down and figuring out exactly what you need kind of on a day-by-day basis. That's how I like to look at it. And I start with clothes too, because I feel like that's kind of the most important thing when you're packing up, and then go from there after that, putting the toiletries in, and then start bringing kind of the accessories, the tech items that you might need. That's kind of how I start and go about it.
So you prioritize from clothing and then go down the list, basically?
Exactly.
Okay. And are you always traveling with just one bag, or do you also check in?
Always with one bag. I've never checked a bag before, which is cool, I guess. I've just noticed that over the years. I've just never had to check a bag, which is nice. So kind of just, being able to plan out is the most important part. Being really organized when it comes to that. That's super important, I guess, to be able to like minimally pack. And, minimalist doesn't have to mean you're bringing merino shirts for everything, or one merino shirt and one pair of pants or something. Like, you can bring clothes. It's just really figuring out how to fit all of those in and just bringing along the things you need, not the things you might want,
Yeah, I think that is a really good statement, to bring what you need and not what you might want, but not somewhat overdo it. Because I feel like in the YouTube /influencer /content creator space, the word minimalism has been a little bit overused in a way to some extent of overdoing it, those memes or those funny videos where someone's using one shirt like for a year or something. It's kind of weird sometimes. So I kind of like, because I get the feeling that minimalism has only influenced you, but you don't live by it, right? So
100%. Yeah. Minimalist in packing, like maximal in a lot of other things. Like looking right next to me, I have like 1,500 records here.
Yeah.
So that's, not the most minimalist way to be listening to music. Also have tons of band shirts. I constantly, every time I go to a show, I feel like I end up buying a shirt. I have all these old band shirts too. So those take up a lot of space as well. Definitely not minimalist in that area. But packing wise, I do think it's important. I just think it makes everything so much easier when you do pack minimally. Just makes trips more enjoyable. So that's kind of how I look at that. But
I just think for me personally, it always has been very difficult to kind of reduce, because for example, there's always this saying in minimalism, or when I see people who pack or try to pack in the minimalist or one bag philosophy in a way, that say, I don't need to bring my toiletry kit because I can get everything over there. And for example, I have very dry skin, or if I don't use my shampoo, I get dandruff. I just have to say it. I get dandruff if I get the hotel shampoo. So I always bring stuff, and I realized, yes, I can get the stuff at the supermarket, but then you have to buy out those big bottles, and then it's just wasteful. So for me, it's really difficult sometimes to find the balance, especially with toiletries. It's difficult.
Yeah, and I think that's like kind of goes along with the philosophy of like the minimalist packing is it depends what's important to you. So for you, maybe a bigger toiletries bag is going to be something that's essential for you to bring along. Whereas you can maybe save some room by doing like a packable windbreaker or something, right? For instance, compared to someone who's maybe going to save a little bit of space on toiletries, but they're going to be bringing more, I don't know, socks or shoes or something along, right? Yeah. So it really just depends who you are and kind of figuring that out and figuring out what bag's right for you too, right? So, the reason there's all these channels is because there's thousands of bags out there, which is really cool.
Of course.
And awesome to be able to have all of those options. And it's great because it feels like there's a bag kind of for everyone. No matter what style you have or what you prioritize, you're going to be able to find something out there, that's pretty cool. So
that's actually a good segue. What's your current bag choices? A, for traveling, B, for everyday carry, and maybe B, everyday carry in terms of backpack or whatever, and C, if you wear a sling bag like that is smallish for just casual walking around, what are those three items for you?
So it's always changing based on kind of like what I'm testing out and things like that too. Most recently for larger travel bag, I've been using the Alpaca Elements. That travel bag, which I really like. It's pretty slim. Like it's bigger than a lot of bags that I've used in the past, but it still feels pretty slim, which I like. Because I don't like it when it's too bulky. I also love the Panda Pack from Pioneer. I just think it's the coolest bag. Their duration pack's really good too. Also for like weekend trips, because it's only 18. Yeah, that one's awesome. It's only 18 liters, but it has a really big space for clothes to pack in, like a big clamshell kind of opening. But it fits on every airplane. So like every airline that you're going on, pretty much you can just put it underneath the seat in front of you. So you don't have to worry about that. I flew recently on like United and did like the basic economy and just brought that bag along for like a 4-day trip, and it was fantastic. And then like daily carry, the Air Slim Pack I love. If you know that one, the really small like 8.5 liter bag, because it just fits kind of Essentials, what you need. The City Pack's great too from Air.
So I assume you don't carry a computer. Do you work on an iPad then?
I'll carry a computer
okay.
with the Slim Pack. Yeah, you can fit, I think it's like up to a 14-inch laptop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that one's pretty great too. And then sling wise, let's see what the last one. I kind of like the Andar sling. I don't know if you know the Indie sling from Andar.
No,
they make like the leather like slings. It's pretty nice. Andar's a really cool company. They were the first ones to reach out to work with me like a year ago, which was cool. So I'm still even using that bag from them. Are
you using a sling bag in the front, in the back, or do you do it fanny pack style?
In the front usually. I no opposition to fanny pack style. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah, if it's not too big, I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
I mean it works well. For example, the Bellroy hip pack, that is fairly small, so it doesn't kind of stick out too much if you wear it on your hip, opposed to fanny pack style in front of your crotch. But you put it sideways, then it's actually really cool.
That's
kind
cool.
of like a holster.
Yeah, I need to test out some Bellroy. I haven't tested out any Bellroy yet, but they've always been really intriguing to me. Their products look really cool.
I believe in terms of one bag travel, they could be a very good fit for you, especially the Bellroy Travel Light 30 liter. That would be, I think that would be awesome for you, actually.
Yeah, test it out. New year.
Definitely. So what do you pack then on a? So I just asked you about the computer. What's your workload out? Because it sounded like you always use a smallish bag, like 10 to 13 liters. So I assume you don't need to carry that much for work.
That's right. Yeah, and I like the smaller bags too, just because I usually take a train. So taking like the subway or taking a bus. I live in Chicago. It's a big city. So, doing that commute can take some time if I'm going into an office or going into work somewhere. But yeah, a smaller bag is just always easier, I feel like, to get around.
Yeah.
I'm pretty simple setup. It's just usually a computer. I'll bring a mouse along if I like a Logitech Pebble. I really like that little mouse. I'll bring that along if I need to use that as well.
But it's very small. Doesn't your hand like cramp up when you use it?
If I don't need it for that long, like it's not a big deal. And I won't work on projects for like too long. Like I do a lot of freelance, so a lot of my stuff I can kind of section out here and there instead of more like straight 9 to 5. I got one right here. Yeah, this thing's nice. But yeah, it's very simple setup like that. I might bring like a small hard drive with me too. Some headphones. I like the in-ear headphones, the ones you plug in, more so than like Bluetooth headphones. I'm just I don't know, old school, like when it comes to that.
I feel you. Yeah.
But it's a pretty simple setup like that.
I'm kind of jealous about that you can get around with that less stuff. I feel like always like having so much gear, just going to an office or anything. That's really annoying. But on the flip side, you're also, please correct me if I'm mistaken, but I feel like in USA, only a few cities actually have a subway system, right? Isn't it only like New York, Chicago, Seattle? Seattle has also.
I'm not sure about Seattle.
Not
New York, DC, Philadelphia.
DC, yeah.
There's some cities with it. Chicago's is pretty robust though. Yeah. Their subway is pretty good. The L here, as well as like the bus system. But yeah.
But is my assumption correct that using public transportation isn't that common, right, in USA?
It's tougher if you're not in a bigger city where it's set up. Buses are usually available in most cities, but they're just not mapped out as well as larger cities. So if you do live in like a larger area, it's definitely easier to get around, not have to use the car, and just be able to like commute that way is really, really nice.
But do you think that based on that fact or knowledge, do you feel like the assumption is correct that considering most people use their own car, most people would not mind to use a bigger backpack. Therefore, you might be in the minority of liking smaller backpacks. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, that could totally be the case. I do feel like potentially if you're looking for these kind of bags with these kind of features too, you're probably, I would say, gravitating towards something with more organization, something that's easier to carry. Even if you are bringing it in a car, you're probably looking towards something that makes sense. And what I mean by that is there's a place for everything. It's easier to bring along with you. There's less clutter, those kind of things. So, and yeah, sometimes I'll use a bigger bag too. Like if I know I'm going to the gym afterwards, I will bring something larger, like the duffel pack from Air, like that, where I can just put all my clothes in there too for the day. Or if I'm, going to play tennis afterwards, something like that. It's really kind of can fluctuate based on what I'm doing with the day too. So I can go from something as simple as, just the laptop, that simple setup, maybe like the bento box in there for food, or I can go the complete opposite way and throw gym clothes in there and like a bunch of stuff too. So it's good to have like the versatility, I guess. That's why it's cool to have a couple different bags and different options. I guess options is an important thing too.
I mean, I'm just asking because it feels to me that, and also looking at what is available, it doesn't seem that too many people seem to buy smaller 10-liter backpacks. Usually you see those 10-liter sling bags, but there aren't that many 10-liter to maybe 13-liter bags. So I wonder if just right off the top of my head, if that might be the reason why there aren't that many, because the market of USA predominantly is using a car, or I assume.
Yeah, and I think some people value space like that too. I think that just goes back to kind of my own minimalistic style too, maybe even of just carrying like the things you need too. But yeah, I think there's some good options out there. If it's like the Able Carry 13 is a really great smaller bag to be able to carry things that still has like some decent space in there too. Air has like City Pack, different options. Alpaca has the Metro, which is a nice little slim bag too.
But it's not that many comparatively.
That's true. I feel like every company maybe has just like one, and then they'll have more travel packs for sure. But,
So we just talked about what you carry for work. So what's in your everyday carry, your sling bag or your pants pocket? So what do you usually have with you? What are your must-haves?
Yeah, I mean, my phone's always on me. Wallet, those are kind of in the pockets usually, in like my front pockets. And then in the sling bag or my backpack, I'll have, house keys, usually a notepad and a pen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You carry a regular notepad in your... Okay, in your sling pocket, it probably is no big deal, but not in your pants pockets.
Not in my pants pocket. No. Yeah. This would be in the bag now. But something from like Field Notes or Penco, something that's like easy you can just throw in. But just to have, I like taking notes too. I think even when I work, it's something physical. I like the idea of crossing things out, like to-do list wise, throwing away, something like that. There's like I don't know, satisfaction to that, I guess.
I agree with you. I actually am a huge fan of physical notebooks, which is actually one of the reasons why I bought the Fold 5, because it has a pen, although it's digital. It's still great to jot down ideas, because I used to carry around those small moleskin that are very thin, but they always broke down on me after a while, because I obviously was sitting on them. And while the appeal is cool, in practicality, it's sometimes a little bit annoying to write on paper that is kind of almost ripped out of the notebook and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, so, Moft makes a pretty cool little notebook that you can put on the back of your phone too.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, that thing's pretty nice. So if you want like a good intersection between like digital and like the physical, that's a pretty nice one to have too.
But is it actually good to write in?
It's okay.
So tiny.
It's very small. It doesn't have like... Yeah, it's tougher to write in than something else. If you're jotting down quick notes, it's not a bad little thing to have, especially if you want to keep it attached to your phone and want to be able to carry less. It's not a bad idea. But the notebooks are pretty thin too, and I don't know. There's just something about that old school style notebook that I like. But
Do you actually journal, or is it just to write down quick?
Just usually notes or things I'm
stuff?
thinking about during the day, reminders, like that kind of stuff, more so than journaling. But it's about to be 2025. Who knows what the future the future holds for?
Do you feel sometimes I'm not sure. Are you feeling nervous sometimes that it is only in this one place and not like
In the
backed
cloud
up
somewhere?
in the cloud? Yeah. So do you feel like this being nervous that you might lose it or lose the notebook, I feel like? Or is it just some random notes so you don't care? Or if it's an important note, do you take a picture of it or do you transfer it to a digital place?
Sometimes I will take a picture of it if I need it, or like need to send it to like my wife or something if it's like a note or whatever. But for the most part, I don't know. I just kind of grew up writing things down, pre-cell phone world, growing up with the little Nokia phones with the snake on it, that was my first phone that I ever had when I was like in high school. So, I don't know, just kind of growing up in that world. And then just with listening to records and stuff, like the physical, there's something about physical that I just really like, and gravitate towards more than digital, which is why I don't listen to as much music on like Spotify, for instance, or something like that. Like it's a much more record-based physical media, which I really like. You got that back here. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there's something about that. I don't know. Even like going along with that, like to other things I'm packing in my sling that just like reminded me of, like I'm really into those little handheld video games too. So like I know we both have some interest in those. They're so cool. But always carrying one of those along too, so I can kind of play those on the train when I'm commuting. It makes it so much better for the commute. But yeah, those are great too. Instead of just like playing a game on my phone or something like that, it's just something about it. I don't know.
I really dislike gaming on my phone because it doesn't have the haptic feedback. So I also always have like a gaming device laying around. What's your favorite at the moment? Which one are you using?
I love the RGXX series from Anbernic right now. The 28XX is what I'm using. It's like the little orange one. It kind of looks like almost like a Nintendo
tiny one, right?
Yeah, it's almost like a Game Boy Micro. Yeah. Back there somewhere. That one's great. I love the Evercade too, which is Evercade. I think it's a British company. But they have these little ones. It's called Hyper Megatech. It's a like one of their like devices that they make, and it comes with like 10 15 preloaded games. The one I have is a Taito edition, so there's all these games. They're super cool, but they come with cartridges, which I really like too. The idea of buying a new one, they're like $20 $25, but they'll come with 5 to 10 games on those. The last one I picked up has Glover, which was like this N64 game where you're like a glove walking around with this ball. Do you remember that game? Yeah. So they just did that. They have like a Tomb Raider pack, which is really cool. It's like 3 Tomb Raider games, Duke Nukem. They have all sorts of cool nostalgic cartridges that you can like buy too for it. And it's cool because they're licensed. You're not like, using like the emulation. It's kind of
honestly kind of amazed that they figured out to put Duke Nukem on there.
Yeah. They have 2 collections, I think, of Duke Nukem, but they have some really cool stuff. And I've heard that they're going to start doing a lot more N64 games and stuff on those too in the coming years. So,
but how are the buttons? Because they're
good.
Really?
Surprisingly, it feels really good. Yeah, they're nice and elevated. They press in well. It's a really good little system for like $50 or whatever it is.
Capcom edition, Atari edition.
Yeah.
So what's your current favorite games? Because I just went down a big rabbit hole, but before I tell you about that one, what's your game at the moment that you play?
Yeah, so the one I've been obsessed with most recently is on the RG28XX, but it's a Game Boy Advance game called Super Monkey Ball Jr. I don't know if you ever played that game.
Yeah. Oh,
it's so fun. Yeah, it's great. In between, you know,
Oh yeah, I want to play that.
putting my daughter down for naps, I try to sneak on and play some Super Monkey Ball Junior. It's really, really fun. The mini games are awesome. You can play like golf and bowling on it too. It's just a great game. Yeah, that one's been really fun recently.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I went down two rabbit holes. The first one, I went back to Tetris. I played Tetris a lot, but I've never played, and you probably can't believe it because everyone was playing it, but I never played it. Pokemon.
So much fun.
I started playing Pokemon Fire Red on the GBA, and I was just kind of like leveling for the last... Not gonna lie, the last 8 days, every time I have some time waiting, even waiting for my coffee machine like to heat up or whatever, I was just leveling up all of my Pokemon until level 20, and it's really addicting. I finally get it. I never gotten it why people were playing that game. I watched the cartoons as a kid. I watched a bunch of them together with my brother, but I've never gotten into playing it actually.
Yeah. No, they're so much fun. Red, yellow, blue. Those are, definitely some childhood nostalgia there.
But so I'm not really sure because I didn't look it up, but is the game actually about a storyline with Team Rocket and with your foe that I actually called Gary? Sorry for everyone whose name is Gary, but that was the name that I was like, okay, if you are my enemy, your name is Gary. I don't know why.
Sorry to all the Garys out there.
Yeah, sorry, Garys. So is the story of these Pokemon games actually, is there a story, or is it just about collecting all of the Pokemon there are?
I mean, I guess it's, kind of up to who's playing it, right?
Okay.
For me, it's collecting the Pokemon, too. I think I'm on that side of it, for sure. Or at least when I used to play it. I haven't played it in a long time. But now I might have to, pull that out.
I'm grinding so much, and I'm not sure if I'm actually grinding the right Pokemon, because to some degree, I feel like, is it the right choice to grind the first Pokemon that I got? Or should I wait and just get other ones and then grind them up, but I don't have the power to catch those Pokemon? It's so difficult.
Yeah.
But it's
challenging child games,
Yeah, and I really want to play. I played that also as a kid, that this attorney, Ace Wright or something, this attorney game where you are this legal attorney that is, and then your fights are not actual fights, but it's somewhat of a role-playing game, but it's in front of a judge, and then you have to protect your client. Have you ever heard of that game?
No, that sounds awesome.
Hold on. It's called Ace Wright? Attorney. What was it called? Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney.
Okay.
It was on Nintendo DS, GBA. Oh, it's also available on Steam. Maybe I should get it on Steam.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was a fun game, at least from my memories. I'm not sure if it's still fun though.
Yeah.
So, if you would recommend a retro handheld game device plus a game for some people who want to get into it, under the assumption that they never played retro games when they were a kid, which one would you recommend?
I think, going with any of the Anbernics is, a pretty good choice, to be honest. The Miu Mini Plus is pretty good too.
I wanted to take a look at that, but in your opinion, what's better with the Miu Mini Plus?
It has a pretty solid build. It feels really nice in your hands. It's not too large. It's probably like smaller than a cell phone, but it's like a little bit wider. So it's a nice size to be able to hold to, especially for like your first one. It's smaller than a Game Boy though. It's much smaller than like a regular size Game Boy.
Even the Plus?
Yes, even the Plus, yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
the Mini's really tiny, and then the Mini Plus, that weird like naming structure, but yeah, the Miu Mini Plus is pretty cool. So yeah, that one's really good. And then game wise, I mean, you can start with like your Mario, your Super Mario is always a great place to start. Starting with Sonic, I love all the Sonic games too. Any of those kind of side
which
ones.
system? With which system would you start? Because I
I
feel like that is a difficult question to answer. For
is.
some, Game Boy would be too retro, and I'm not sure. Would you go GBA or
Yeah, I mean NES even. Just starting with like
really?
the old NES. Yeah, the old NES games. I mean, that's what I grew up playing too though. I mean, I remember
Sure.
growing up playing like even like Duck Hunt and stuff, right? Like as a kid,
Oh,
which was
yeah.
really fun.
Yeah,
And
that
like
was
Super
fun.
Mario, those coming together, which is great. Mike Tyson's Punch Out was just super fun.
I've
I
never
don't know if
played
you remember
that.
that one.
Really? Is
That
it
one's
actually
really
fun?
yeah, that's
Okay, I
super
need to
fun
try.
game. Yeah, any of like those early NES games they're so easy to just pick up and play too. You don't have to like know much to do those. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You don't have to like really get into a story or anything. You kind of just play it, which is
Yeah.
also nice too for someone who's just entering into that world. And same with the Sonic ones. If you're looking at like the Sega games too, any of those early Sonics, I mean, they're just side scrollers. You're really just jumping, you know, and kind of going through the courses, which is pretty fun.
I don't know. I felt like I tried the Sonic game on the Anbernic, but maybe that was my issue because I'm not too familiar with the Sega systems besides the Dreamcast. So I wasn't sure which button, what buttons the Genesis actually had, and then how they were distributed on the buttons of the Anbernics. So coming from the mindset of Super Mario, where you basically just jump to kill your enemy, kill in air quotes, kill your enemies. I wasn't really sure how to deal with Sonic in terms of, because the game that I started, he was able to run, he was able to jump, and then he was able to roll. And I was a little bit confused about that. It sounds a little bit weird because probably anyone who played Sonic is like, what are you talking about? It's so easy. But for me, it was because you need to understand, for anyone who hasn't played an Anbernic, if there are buttons, for example, your GBA only has 2 buttons, A, B plus the side buttons. So
Right.
the other buttons on the Anbernics are kind of doubled.
Yep.
And if you don't know, for example, on the Genesis, I'm not sure, does it have 3 or 6
I think the Genesis
buttons?
had like a X, Y, and Z or A, B, and C. Yeah, I think they had 3 with the D-pad. So yeah, it is a little confusing when you're reorganizing those. But
if you then don't know what those buttons are on the 4 buttons that you have available, but the system that is emulated only has 3, then it gets a little bit confusing and you don't know, oh, does the Y button do anything or is it duplicated? I'm not sure.
yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about like all of those emulators is that you just have so many games. You can just test them all out. You know what I mean?
It's a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah,
Also.
it is crazy what you can put on those, and yeah, all the channels dedicated to them too. I mean, I really like watching some of the videos that are kind of dedicated to those. I love, retro Game Core and stuff.
Or Tech Dweeb is also really
Tech
cool.
Dweeb's really good too. Yeah.
I always wonder. I think for those of you who've never seen a video of him, you basically only see his hands and maybe his upper torso, and he has always this orange black striped shirt on to kind of emphasize this tech dweeb persona, and he has this really, how you would say, nasal tone to him, and it's very entertaining. I really
it's
like
a fun
his style.
character. It's cool. He's created something. Yeah, it's really there's a bunch of other really good ones too. Like speaking of emulation devices, because people are I feel like are into tinkering with them now too, like taking them apart, building their own, and all of that kind of stuff, which I think is really interesting too. There's a great one called Your Cool Uncle Marissa, and she does like builds of different handhelds and stuff, and talks about how you can kind of make these different devices yourself, which is really neat too. If you're into tinkering around with things, it's kind of cool.
I tried to tinker in terms of software, installed a different system on it.
Yeah.
But damn, that gets confusing at some point.
It's a process for sure.
Yeah. So I would say I totally agree with your recommendation. If anyone of the listeners want to get into retro gaming, I would definitely start with an Anbernic XX XX series, because I feel like it's cheap, or budget friendly. Let's say that way, budget friendly, and you get basically everything out of the box right away.
Yeah, for $50, the build quality is pretty decent. And you can get exactly everything out of the box, or you can even buy them on like Etsy if you want them preloaded with other things too that people would do. And it's just a cool little, I don't know.
But small caveat, we obviously do not endorse piracy. So
that's correct.
we have all of the original copies at home of the games that are on these devices.
All
of
thousands.
Course.
That's right. Sorry, Nintendo.
We do not endorse piracy. We don't.
That's right.
So you always, like me, also you always carry that. Would you consider that one of the most important items when you travel or when you pack items?
Yeah, I love it for day to day. During the mundane, if it's a 45-minute commute to work on a train and bus or flying, it passes the time. I love playing those games when I fly or when I travel in that way too. So they're great. I mean, just keeping it around it's just so simple. It's smaller than a phone or the size of a phone. You can fit it kind of in any bag very easily. Yeah, and you can throw it around too. I think that's the thing with it being so budget friendly. I'm not like constantly worried about it, I don't know, getting broken. I'll just spend $35 and get another one if I need to. Exactly. So
speaking of important item, what would you consider your most important items when you pack?
When I'm carrying?
Yeah.
I guess it depends. If I'm bringing any kind of like tech along, like a computer obviously is going to be something I want to protect. So having a bag that has like a good laptop space and laptop compartment, good padding is important, I think too. So I value that definitely when I'm choosing a bag, if it's everyday carry or if it's a travel bag. But most important things, I mean, your wallet, your phone, like those kind of things, I feel like are pretty essential. Keeping those, knowing where those are. Yeah, exactly. And everything else is like, I don't know. It's clothes. Like you can replace them if you need to. Huh? I try to be. I try to be. I'm not overthinking it in a way. I think it's like you can be simple with it and intentional with it. And, maybe you would refer to that as minimal, but I think it's so much easier and so much more enjoyable when you go on a trip or do something and you're not lugging like a huge bag around. You're not even kind of thinking about it. It's just on you and you don't even have to worry about it,
Are there any bags, be it carry-on, a travel bag or EDC bag or sling bag, that you're currently looking forward to, that you would love to review in the future?
I'm going to be reviewing a couple bags from Tortuga. So they have like an expandable backpack that just came out recently, I think about a month ago. But it's cool because it expands from, I think it's 27 to like 33 liters. Like you just open like a zipper, kind of like you would like a compression cube.
How do you like the look of those Tortuga bags?
Yeah, those are really cool. Yeah. The founder reached out to me, which was cool. He like saw a video and it's I'm excited to kind of test that out in the new year. I have some other ones kind of in the pipeline that are exciting. PackSafe, there's a cool PackSafe one, like one of their like entry level bags, which is neat because I haven't really tested many things that have those like safety features to them, quote unquote. So that'll be interesting to kind of look at those as well. Another company called Minimal, which has like a larger 38 liter pack.
Hold on, Minimal or Minal?
No, not Minimal. Minimal. It's like MINIMUL. Minimal. They only make one pack, so they're like kind of a newer company. I've seen some people do some reviews on them, but it's Minimal. I think it's just about to come out. So I think they just went through like their Kickstarter and all of those kind of things. But I'll be checking that out too. That's one of the ones coming up soon in the new year. So yeah, excited about those too.
How are you? I'm just looking at this Minimal bag and also at you just mentioned Tortuga. I feel like those two bags so I'm looking at the Minimal and the Tortuga. They look very, for the lack of a better word, utilitarian, boring. They look very bland. How do you like your bags? Do you prefer having it very just black and as non-flashy as possible so they don't stick out that much, or are you also liking or prefer bags with different colors or different designs?
I don't mind a little color, to be honest. Like I can totally understand the just black bags that like, you'll see with like Air, Tortuga, some of those companies. Sure. But I do like what like Able Carry offering like, 4 different colors in their bags. I'll always probably gravitate more towards a color if they do offer it. But yeah, I mean, I can see both. Like it also depends, for me, it depends more on like the shape of the bag, the design of the bag, the versatility and intentionality of the bag. Like if there's specific pockets for different things, within the bag, the organization is good. I like a large kind of pocket to put all my clothes and stuff, but I do like to keep it minimal. I don't overly need too many pockets. I just need distinct spaces for things, if that makes sense.
Do you use packing cubes and cubes overall?
Not really. I mean, I've tested them out before. I've done a couple videos where I've used them, but for the most part, I like the bags that almost act like a packing cube, right? Like where you have that main compartment. So you're kind of just even doing that in like a larger packing cube instead of putting smaller ones in there. I guess, one of the reasons I like Pioneer so much is they have like that big main space in their bags for clothes to put, but then the front pockets are like intentional where you can like work within their ecosystem of products. So like for instance, their tech bag or their toiletries bag fits in the front pocket perfectly. So like it's all made where you can just be like, okay, I'm a loyalist to this brand. I'm going to buy these things. I'm just going to make it easy. You put everything in, don't even worry about it then, right? Like it makes things very simple, which is cool.
Yeah, I get that. So you're out of the ordinary. Most in this space actually use packing cubes, as far as I know. So that's really cool that just adds to the philosophy of trying to be or incorporate minimalism in your style, I guess.
Yeah, cool. Packing cubes, I feel like they just, I don't know. I mean, I get the idea that you're compressing and trying to take up less space, but it feels like sometimes it almost takes up more. Like I can probably, I don't know. I feel like I can organize better without them. And I like showing everything that I'm bringing too. Yeah. Like I, kind of talked about this last time when we got cut off, but I feel like, some people who are packing and showing like what can fit in a bag, they just kind of throw a couple cubes in there and not really showing you what's in the packing cube. So, some of those
maybe it's for the
creators out there. That's right. That's right.
But I'm not sure. I'm right in the middle. I've been asking this question about packing cubes for many of the past episodes because I'm right in the middle. To some degree, I like the ability to compartmentalize and kind of organize, okay, this is for socks and underwear, this is for shirts, and then when I arrive at my destination, I can just take out the cubes, put them in the hotel's drawer or what's the word? Clothing cabinet.
And
dresser. Don't have to worry to put them into them, because if I would just put my clothing into them, I usually like to wipe down all of the surfaces.
Sure.
But with that, I don't need to. But then on the other hand, I kind of know that all of the fabric of the packing cube will add bulk and will add weight. So I do understand the trade-offs.
Yeah.
And so I'm right in the middle, and I'm always kind of torn whenever I try to pack a bag. Okay, do I need these cubes, or do I just utilize everything that is given to me in that backpack? So I'm sometimes very torn about that, to be honest.
Yeah, and excuse me, that's what's kind of cool about, the whole like bag and travel gear industry, kind of that, we like review things is that, you know, some people like it, some people don't. It's for some people, it's not for some people. Just like a toiletry bag, like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Some people are going to use those really large ones. Some people are going to use like a pencil case.
Of course, yeah.
And it's cool that everyone has their own individual kind of style and their own individual like way to pack things. I think that's like what's really kind of cool about it too.
Yeah, that's true. So before I let you go, I always like to ask that question because I'm very curious. Within the last few months, not necessarily a bag, but what was the most memorable item that you got yourself? It doesn't have to be good. It also could be, I don't know, you bought something because you were so excited to get it and then it turned out to be a terrible item. What was the most memorable item that you bought?
The best thing I bought myself was probably the Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack on vinyl.
Yeah. I remember.
Which is really cool.
Our conversation.
I have it here. I want to
cool.
grab it. Hold on, I'm going to show it off.
For those of you who don't know, Tony Hawk, that was the game on PlayStation.
All right.
I'm just kind of
just telling the
telling
non-watching.
That is, it was on PlayStation 1. That was the first Tony Hawk game, and it was
That's right.
such a big deal. Not only because the game was so cool, but because the soundtrack of that game was one of the most, in my humble opinion, iconic soundtrack in a video game, because it wasn't that common to have artists actually license out their original songs to a video game, and this was, I would assume, one of the very first where they actually did that. So that was so iconic.
Yep.
And seeing that you got a vinyl of that
It's
is
very
so
cool. Yeah, so this has different like tracks from, I think it's like the first 4. Maybe some other ones like Tony Hawk Underground. I think there's a track from that. But there was a documentary called Pretending I'm a Superman, which is the lyric from the Goldfinger song. Superman, so great song. But yeah, Enjoy the Rides Records, great label. They put out a lot of cool reissues.
Can you turn it around? What's on the back?
Yeah, so...
it's cool.
Yeah, just kind of... pretty cool. But yeah, some really, really, really great tracks on that, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah, I love Mill and Colin.
Yeah,
I watched them on the Vans Warped Tour.
Yep.
I think it was the Vans Warped Tour when they were in Germany. So good.
The Warped Tour is great. It's coming back. Did you hear the Warped Tour is coming back?
Really?
Yeah, they're bringing it back. I think it's only like 2 or 3 dates or something. I think it might just be in the US, but they're like retesting it out, like trying it out, I think next year. But yeah.
But do you think they will... So, I mean, there are 2 approaches that you can do with that kind of tour. Do you think they will try to kind of get all of the old bands back to that, or do you think they will get just new stuff on there?
I'm hoping it's the older bands that would be there, to be honest. Like cool, a nostalgia grab, why not? That's why I go to a lot of shows that I saw like Less Than Jake do their anniversary tour this past year. Yeah, still playing. They're awesome live. Really, really good. Yeah, Voodoo Glow Skulls opened. It was a great ska-filled show, which is cool. I saw Suicide Machines this year too for that kind of, nostalgic. Suicide Machines, actually, they had the song New Girl on the Tony Hawk soundtrack. Not on this vinyl, but yeah, that was also, a great entryway. A lot of these bands were a really great entryway into that kind of punk music or ska music, or I feel like playing this early on kind of got me into a lot of those things, a lot of the Fat Records bands and NoFX and that kind of stuff too. So yeah, it's kind of cool. But yeah, hopefully nostalgic wise, I love the nostalgia tours. I'm glad everyone's doing their like 20th anniversary tours now, 25th anniversary, which is cool.
But I would be a little bit scared that it would be disappointing.
Yeah, well, they just need seats for all of us. For all of us, like, if we can just do it in a theater and all of us, late 30s, early 40-year-olds, we can just sit down.
No. It's a mosh pit. It's a mosh pit, but all the people in our age sit in a wheelchair, and then you have like interns that are way younger than we are, just rolling us into the mosh pit.
Perfect. I love it.
So we're sitting down and we just wail with our arms while some intern is kind of pushing us into the mosh pit.
That sounds great to me. I love it.
That's also, I think that's a good business idea. Maybe we should go to, what's it called? Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Let's go to Shark Tank.
That's a great idea. Let's do it. Yeah.
For the next Vans Walk tour. Oh, that's so cool. I really like that you collect vinyl.
Yeah.
As I said in our episode when we had technical difficulties, I had a bunch of vinyl, but the first time I had to move with all of the vinyls, I said, nope, not going to do that anytime soon. So
it's the worst part of moving. Yeah.
So, but you store them all correctly, right? All like
I do. Yeah. I just have like one of the big.
Put them into pile or something.
No.
Good.
No.
Okay.
No, I have them all here. I have like a big Calyx, like IKEA shelf. It's just, and then I have like some crates of, like 45s and stuff.
How much is vinyl nowadays?
Depends. If you're getting like a new record, it's going to be around like $30 if it's a single LP. If it's two LPs, if you're looking like a 2 LP release, probably closer to $40 for some of the newer ones.
Okay.
It depends. And it depends what label you're like talking about and stuff too. Some of the older ones, it really depends. I mean, you can go anywhere from $1 at like a store if you're, like an old Frank Sinatra record or something, all the way up to like hundreds of dollars if it's an original pressing.
Of course. But I mean, it sounds so stupid to have to say it like this, but I feel like that the younger generation listening to us would probably say, oh, that's so expensive. Why is it LP 40 euros while I can get everything? And I hate that people say that I can get it for free at Spotify, but dude, you're paying like a monthly fee, so it's not for free. But that argument is very often brought to the table when it comes down to buying stuff. But if you consider like a CD back in the day also cost like $20, right?
Yeah.
So buying a vinyl for 40 doesn't seem that outrageous considering a vinyl is.
Yeah, and I'd say those are more of like the higher end ones. They're going to have like different inserts, color pressings, like stuff like that. You're probably going to get more like a little higher cost because it does cost more to actually press those. Years ago I ran a small record label and have some I pressed records, so I know a little bit about how much they cost and stuff. But the record industry is tough. You're not making high margins on those, so
but it's coming back.
It is coming back, and it is good to support local labels for sure. All those independent labels, it's really important to do because the things that they do, they're not making much money off of these. So supporting them through physical media is really important because Spotify, you're getting tenths of a penny for each listen. So physical media is really, really important to keep that kind of stuff going. But
my prediction is 2025 will be the year and the start of physical media overall coming back. Like, for example, the point and shoot cameras and Polaroids and analog cameras have been coming back so much over the last 12 to 24 months. And I feel like next year will be even more so where people actually want physical media. Or I have seen so many videos with the title, I revived my iPod. And I lived with my iPod for 30 days and it changed my life or whatever. And I feel like it will be next year. Everything will come back. Cassette tapes, mini disc. I loved my mini disc player from Sony. That was so good.
Do you still have that?
No, I
lost it.
Those
are so expensive now.
Really?
I think like a single mini disc costs like $200. They're like those one. I used to have a little maybe 10 mini discs or something back in the day too. I think I had one from like Iowa, like AIWA, if you remember that company. I don't even think they exist anymore. But I used to love that mini disc player and recording on it and everything was so fun.
Yeah, it was the perfect consumer medium in my humble opinion. Because it was, for those of you who don't know, mini discs were basically little CDs encased in a plastic square form, and you were able to record and delete everything that you put on them. So it's a mix of a cassette tape and a CD, and it was so cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. But yeah, if anyone has any of those out there, especially the ones that you could buy like in like a
bulk,
Sam
right?
Goody or something or whatever, you know, those are worth a lot of money now, which is funny.
Really? I didn't know that. Oh, that's so cool.
It's everything's so, you know, cyclical. It just is like, you know, cassettes are back, CDs I feel like are even making a little bit of a resurgence. I did hear vinyl sales might be down a little bit, but it's just because it's so oversaturated now too. I mean, you go to Urban Outfitters, you can buy them. You go to Walmart, you can buy records. It's just kind of everywhere now. So it was eventually going to like decline a little bit, but yeah.
But it's at least for me, it's very understandable that physical media is coming back, because the feeling of being overwhelmed with choices. For example, we go to Netflix or Amazon Prime and then look at the movies, and then we take much more time to choose a movie. It takes much more time to choose the movie instead of actually watching the movie. And I feel like it's the same with music. Sometimes I rather listen to my old playlist instead of kind of wanting to discover new music. So I kind of get that people are overwhelmed with the choices and rather have, okay, this is the CD with 20 tracks of this one artist, and I do not have to choose, and just put that in and done.
Yeah,
basically.
it's a world of playlists and TikTok and you know those kind of songs now. Unfortunately, I've worked for record labels and know friends in the industry, and it's a tough industry to be in because a lot of labels are like, "What's your TikTok song? You know, what song on the album's your TikTok song?" That's gonna like you know that's the kind of things that people focus on, which is a shame. But I hope we do go back to like you're saying, where people are listening to more full albums. They're you know really appreciating physical media more, where you can kind of go on a journey with an album instead of just kind of hearing one song. So
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for
of course,
your
so
time.
much fun again. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so just on YouTube, it's Out in the Lights, OUTEN, The Lights. And yeah, new videos every Friday. Usually post 6 a.m. Central Time, so look out for those. Yeah, feel free to check out what I'm doing. Hopefully it's cool. Hopefully it's a little different than some of the other creators out there. And hopefully you get some good information from watching the videos. That's what I'm trying to do, so.
Yeah, definitely, everyone. Please check out Alex's channel, Out in the Lights, on YouTube, and definitely subscribe to him as well. And Alex, thank you so much for the great conversation again. And
thanks so much for having me.
Definitely. And everyone else, thank you so much for listening, and see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.